I think it's time for the age-old question. How many Jasons does it take to get back to Daniela Prime? Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. We are at the 7th episode of Dark Matter. It is called In the Fires of Dead Stars. Super heady title for an episode that gets pretty emotional. Our Jason Prime goes through the ringer in this episode and ends up, in a situation where things seem better, but seem to be even more confusing for us as the audience and his world as we know it. The world quickly is starting to close around Jason Chu and the Prime world. So he's bringing home groceries to cook for both Daniela and Charlie. Charlie, I got the name. Charlie. And they're still giving him the cold shoulder. He's still having a hard time sort of making up for the mistakes that he's made, putting Charlie in the hospital, just kind of just not doing the things that Daniela believes he should be doing. When they get a knock on the door, Detective Mason, who we've seen before previously in Jason Chu's world, sort of trying to get questioning about where Blair and where Jason sort of has been, and where those two folks who were volunteers, where they all disappeared to. She was that we saw a version of her there. We see her again here. She's still a detective, and she's sort of pressing Jason Chu about Ryan, who has gone missing for the last 2 days. We as an audience know that he has basically put Ryan into this secluded Chicago world where we're never going to see him again. What do we think? And Detective Mason's coming on pretty hard. She already knows in her head that the last person that anybody has seen Ryan with was Jason Chu. So she's letting it in and kind of just trying to get some information. It's like, hey, when was the last time you saw him? Now, she already has the answer for Jason Chu. She's just trying to see if she's going to get the truth out of him or if he's going to lie about it. It's at that point she asks Daniela, when was the last time you saw him? Daniela says it was 5 days ago. It seems like Jason Chu's a little surprised with this, but I would imagine by the phone records he had some inkling that they have had a conversation. But this seems to be a bit of surprise for him. She then asks Jason Chu, when was the last time you saw him? And she says 3 days, which is a huge surprise to Daniela. And now sort of has her questioning even more. Did he have something? She starts wondering, did he have something to do with why Ryan's not showing up anymore? Jason comes clean, says, like, I was at the village top with him 3 days ago. We were having some drinks. He seemed to be in a bad way, seemed to be in a bad place. He hasn't had a drink. He says he's been sober for some time. He hasn't had a drink in a while, so this seems all a bit out of character for him. But Detective Mason lets him know that, hey, I already had you on CCTV. I knew that's where you were last at, but you're the last person who saw him alive. After that, we have no recollection or any idea of where he went. Do you happen to know where he went? She's like, no, I don't know where he went after that. I went home. Sure. Detective Mason leaves your card and takes off. And at that point, then Daniela's like, all right, I've had enough of this. Like, F this. So she goes up to the rooms and she quickly just whispers to him, meet me in the room, meet me in our room. She doesn't want this to kind of be said around Charlie. They meet in the room and she shows him the 2 empty vials she has. And like, can you explain this to me? I just had Ryan looking for this on your behalf or to see where this came from because I found this in the storage room that you have. Explain this to me. And he's like, well, where did you find this? She's like, well, that's irrelevant, but I got this from your storage unit. So I followed you. At this point, Jason Chu is sort of like freaking out, like, wait a minute. Why did you come to me with this? Like, why are you going around and searching because Blair's a bad person? Blair gave her some crazy intel, but it worked out. And so he's kind of questioning, why did you go around and not come to me with this and go around everyone else and try to get information? She says that you've been different, you've been aloof as of late, and I just didn't trust you. So I felt I need to go get this information for myself. And then Jason 2 comes up with this story that's saying, hey, I had Ryan working on this formula. I couldn't come up with this on my own. It is a thing that is designed to Like the frontal cortex. He basically tells her the truth in this work. He's giving half truths, but he tells her the truth about what it does. How it affects the frontal cortex so that he can see objects in superposition. And that Ryan was helping him with this. And the reason why Ryan didn't come out with that in the first place is because Ryan was under an NDA. That boy good. Daniela buys it, but she says because they have become strangers, because they've seen distance, because it seems like you don't even know this family, I did things this way. And I just want to make sure that we are okay. Have you been taking this drug? And he's like, yes, I have. Can you stop? Is what she asked. And Jason she says, yeah, I can stop. She's like, can you really stop? Like, do you need help or do I need to do anything? He's like, no, I can stop this. Which is sort of fitting because he technically wants to stop anyway. He doesn't want to keep hopping. The box is locked up. So he technically, again, not lying, he's telling the truth. He doesn't plan to use again. Boy, does this world change on him fast. She does want to know what's in the storage unit, and he says, my project's in there. And I hid it for guilt of me feeling like I was wanting more. Again, another half truth. Because he was in his world, he was looking for more. He wound up getting it, so on and so forth. It's not what he wanted, but that's neither here nor there. And this, he's giving her enough of the story to sort of satiate what it is she's looking for and then sort of move on. We then flip to Jason Prime and Amanda 2. Boy, this one's a heartbreaker. They have been doing the same rat race for the last 29 days. And so Amanda posits to him, hey, how about we take an off day? How about we take what I would call a Chicago spy day? Let's go to one of these Chicagos that we're not searching for your Daniela, and we're kind of just taking it easy. Jason's a little reticent to doing that because we only have so many more vials left. Like, we don't have enough to be taking these sort of spa days. And she's like, look, our brain's not capable of doing what we've been doing for 29 days straight. And so we need a moment to sort of do something else. We sort of put our brains and our bodies into this fight or flight mode for 29 days straight. Let's just take a respite. He finally agrees. And they end up in a world that she has created out of what she says empathy. She's like, I've created this world out of empathy and technologies that doesn't cause harm. And they're kind of just seeing people, like couples hugged up and loving. Everything seems to be very peaceful and loving and empathetic. You just see the humane nature of the Chicago world that she sort of created. It's a very zen and relaxing world. And she says she got here instead of doing what he's been doing and sort of writing down descriptions of the world. She focused more on the humanity of a person. So she wrote about the people in the world, like the people that she wanted to see, how she wanted them to be humane and how they were sort of the archetype of the world that she wanted to live in. And Amanda said, like, truthfully, life is about the people in it. So the worlds that we were jumping into, I think we were coming at it from a different angle. This is the angle that I've chosen to come from. It's like, okay, got it. So Amanda 2 and Jason Prime go to a bar. It's a famous bar. Forget it. It's a famous movie that it's a part of. But they go to a bar and they're just having some drinks and chatting. They get a recommendation to go to Obama's, not the real one because we don't know if that actually is going to look like when it's all said and done, but the building that is being built for Obama, a version of that is created for this world. But it has a pinnacle at the very top, a point at the top above the skyline to sort of eat dinner and see. So they get a recommendation to go there. Man is like, cool, I think that's a good idea. We will go there. And so she breaks off. She leaves Jason in this bar by himself, and she goes to go set that up and kind of have a surprise for him. She's like, meet me in 2 hours. I have a surprise for you. When she leaves, there's a couple that comes up to him and says, hey, can you take a photo for us? And he agrees. It's like, yeah, I can take one for you. And then they say, I know probably it's a bit intrusive, but we took a photo of you and the woman and the couple. How long have you guys been a couple? Jason doesn't negate it. He doesn't shut it down. He kind of just says, hey, it's been not too long. So for him, he's actually in a moment now for the first time where it seems like he might actually be considering a relationship with Amanda. Some of that it might be because the vials have gotten down to the nitty gritty, and there might not be an option besides what he has with Amanda. And he's actually giving it a bit of a thought, not fully leaning into it, but and not really giving up, but more of I could see myself in this world, and the way that that photo is, the way that they both look really happy in that photo. And the thought has crossed his mind before that it's not out of the realm of possibilities of an option that he could go through if all else fails. Like if they continue to go into these boxes together and they end up in a world together where it's not either of their worlds, he's perfectly fine saying, okay, cool. I think we can go ahead and call it. It's just going to be the two of us. It's a bit of a settling for him, but that's not truly fair for Amanda, which is why Amanda has taken things into her own hands. um, Amanda meets him at the top of the Obama restaurant and looks dressed to the nines. She's in a beautiful green dress. She is gorgeous. And Jason Prime comes in underdressed. So she has a suit waiting for him to pick up and say, hey, I got you. Go ahead and go put that on. And he comes back and looks like he's dressed to the nines. Nothing a good amount of water can't do when you wash your face and how clean you can look. And then they get to talking. And Amanda too has done some research at this version of Chicago. She tells him that in this world, Jason sells insurance. And Jason sounds like, all right, that's weird, but cool. I sell insurance. She's like, in this world also, I found out that Amanda went missing 2 years ago, and her parents are nowhere to be found, and she does not have a brother in this world. All of those things lead her to say that this world is perfect. And it's at that point that I realized immediately what was happening. Jason Prime is a bit slow in the uptick, but he eventually gets there. But she pulls out a passport and says, "Hey, I got a passport quickly done here, great credit. It's perfect for me." It's like, perfect for what? Because I plan to stay here. I'm not leaving or going anywhere else. She's created her exit world, something that Blair said she should have been doing, but I think something that after the last episode, when there was a brief moment where it looks like Jason was on the edge. After their party, after their dance, after their dinner that they had, that great night, following one, they had a night where he kind of just left her high and dry, which made her feel a little bit not in control. And she felt like, hey, something's wrong. I need to do something or do what's best for me. Now she is taking that upon herself to say, created this world, and this is where I want to be. I'm good here. It's like, I can't keep doing this. You, Jason Prime, have a home that you're looking for. And if you find it, then I will still be displaced. So no matter what, I'm alone. And outside of you in this right now, I don't have anything. I can't go back to my world. So this feels like the best place for me. I've made the best place for me, and I can't keep doing this for you. Jason says, hey, you're abandoning me? And she's like, no, I'm giving you the option. I want you to stay. Oh boy, Jason Prime that's a hard one. Because I think there is a world where he could see himself being with Amanda, but he does not want to give up the fight that he is still actively trying to get to Daniela. And Amanda is putting it that I don't want to be the second place or the runner up or hey, I couldn't get Daniela, so I'll settle for you. She's had that once with Jason too. She doesn't want that with this Jason Prime. And so as much as it hurts her, as much as she would like to have an honest relationship with Jason Prime, she knows that that's not what he wants. And so she's sort of giving him that option. He can't take it. Like, there's still a couple of miles left. I still have to try this. And he even says, like, there are countless other worlds with much smarter Jasons that would take her up on this offer to stay with her. And he's saying, like, a smarter person would. Like, the odds are not in my favor for me to find my Daniela. They're not in my favor at all. All things say, yes, you are the person. I should absolutely stay here. But there's still that glimmer of a hope, and that's sort of like that glimmer of a chance. And I am so enthralled with my wife Daniela that I can't not try. he wants to leave her some ampules for vials to sort of in case she wants to change, and she asks why. Like, I no, I don't need to have those. Um, and he says, well, you don't know what this world is. You don't know if this will work. You don't know what your place is. And she's like, well, I think no world is going to be perfect, but we have to choose to make our life as happy as we can make it, as happy as we can be, which is very different from what Jason Chu is going through. Jason Chu's got into his world, he's got into his life, and he doesn't like it. It's not happy. It's not what he wants to do. Where Amanda Chu is saying, I can make any world that what I need it to be. I can find the happiness. I can find that sliver of goodness in that world and just make it the best for me. And we've seen the flip side of that, where Jason's kind of like, this world is everything. I've had my idea of perfection, and ain't nothing living up to it. Makes you wonder how Amanda 2 and Jason 2 even wound up together, because clearly they have very different ideals of the world. She's going to move to Seattle in this world, and because in this world there is that Amanda is not there. Nobody knows of Amanda Lucas in that hometown. She does bring up a thing that is interesting, because I never really thought about it, because it's always one of them opening the door, but she brings up like a lot of what was stopping us from succeeding is that there were two consciousness approaching the door and trying to come up with the world for the door. I think it may be better for you if I am taken out of it and it's just the one consciousness. Even if it was just a small thing, I was adding more to what was being created in that world, as opposed to us sort of doing it together. Now you'll be the sole conscious that's making these decisions, and it might be a better option for you when you open the door. Jason Prime says, I'm sorry for putting you to all this. It's like, nope, no regrets. I am not asking you to be apologetic, and I don't want those sorrows. I chose this, and I'm perfectly happy with where we're at. They hug, and while they hug, he does slip 2 vials into her purse just in case. And then she kisses him. It's a pretty passionate kiss. It's a kiss of what could be. For her, it's just goodbye kiss, and for him, for both of them, it's a goodbye kiss. But for her, it's kind of like, I want more, and for him, he's like, I do want this. Even when he said it on the bed before, like, I need you to move to the other bed. I don't want it, but I need you to move to the other bed. If the situation, all the vows were gone, he would stay, which isn't a good way to start a relationship. So they kiss and they separate and they go. It's a beautiful little scene of them, one going down the elevator, both having breakdowns, really. She's going down the elevator, breaking down, and then sort of having a breakthrough. She's super sad that she's losing this Jason, but also knows that this Jason isn't the one. No Jason really wants her. They are all pining for Daniela, and so she's now going to go live a world and a life for herself. He's sort of free. And Jason now, Prime, sort of feels abandoned. He's like, well, now I don't know what to do next. I've been doing this for the last month with a partner, and now I'm going at this by myself. So he returns back to the box, and tries it again. Obviously, the very first world that he goes to, with the way that he feels and the way that things are just going, he goes to a world that, you guessed it, is burned out and abandoned. There's not much that needs to be said about how that world got created, because that is exactly how he was feeling. An easy 1-to-1 there. So that was when before he went to the abandoned world, he had 3 vials left. Now after the abandoned world, he's down to 2. So he goes to another world, and things seem pretty normal here. It seems to be a pretty good world, but it's not his. Oh, but he goes and he sees a Daniela, and he goes to make a phone call. He calls that Daniela on the phone and talks to her from the sidewalk, looking through the window, and sort of sees her and confesses how much he loves her and how much he previously took any interactions and anything that they had together for granted. Now, granted, we don't know what was the last thing that sort of happened with this Jason and this Daniela, but he is basically getting off of his chest what he feels. And it's sort of working, even though I think she said her Jason just left with an hour left to go. He just left. But he said he wanted to tell her that he loves her so much, and just wanted to tell her that. And she makes a joke and says, like, all right, well, I'm going to be super sexy with some sexy sweats on when you come home tonight. But that was just his way. He's down to one vial after this, and he knows this is in his world. So he's down to like, look, I don't have any other choices. This might just be where I'm at, and I might just be this roaming guy who doesn't get back to his true Daniela. But I just need to let one of these Danielas that I've run into know that I love her beyond the deepest feelings that a person can have for another, and I just need to say it to someone. It's where it gets a little dark. He then walks past a shop that has the mask that Jason Chu wore when he abducted Jason Prime. Um, and it seems like for a moment we're going to get Jason Prime going down sort of the dark side, if you will. He returns back to the home with Daniela and sort of just stalks them. He goes into the house and he goes into the bedroom and just stands over both Daniela and that version of Jason in their bed. And for a moment, it looks like might be about to do something terrible. This is where it comes in earlier, where Amanda too mentioned, hey, the difference between you and my Jason is that you have empathy. And it's clear in this moment that empathy sort of shines and it allows him to back out of the situation, not replace himself with this Jason, and sort of take his life, his world, and sort of say, I need to get the hell out of here. This isn't mine. I need to go to my Daniela and to my Charlie. So he leaves. As he's leaving, Charlie comes downstairs and says, "What are you doing, Dad?" And Jason Prime calls him Charlie, and Charlie says, "Nope, I'm not Charlie. I'm Max." So in this world, Max lived, and so for the first time, Jason Prime got to hold the son or talk to the son that didn't make it. And so in this world, Max is alive. Max is having a hard time with life. He's having an issue with coping, and in this world, it seems like he is a disappointment to the Jason. And so this Jason starts to try to hug him and start to give a little bit more empathy, which is not a normal thing that clearly occurs in this world because Max is not that receptive to it. Even the way that he's explaining how, hey, that's just the way that life is sometimes. It's not going over well. And so Max leaves and he exits. It's like, I can't do this. I need to at least make this one last ditch effort to make it back to my Danielle. Like, this is what I want. I can't steal someone else's world. And even though they're close variations of a Daniela or my Charlie, or in this case, my Max, they are not what I want and they're not what I had. So I need to do everything possible to try to get back to that. Jason 2 and this level of control that he wants to have. Jason 2 goes back to see his therapist, Amanda Prime. And Amanda Prime just says, like, look, why are you running? Why are you leaving? Like, you're always running away. I just don't think you have it in you to be a person who commits. Like, you can't make a commitment. You always have to run and find your exit strategy. Jason 2 doesn't like that. And he decides to read the hell out of Amanda Prime. And he's like, I don't know anything about you, which we know is bull. He does know a lot about her. And he commences to tell her about herself and says how she wound up into the business of being a therapist. It's his way of controlling the room because he feels out of control at home. He feels out of control in life, the detective around. He doesn't have any control. So the one place right now where he can gain some control is by destroying the hell out of Amanda. And boy, does he. He goes on to tell her that psychology is not her first love and that she falls for a type of men that make her give up a lot of herself. She never runs away from a bad situation, and because she's always trying to fix it because she feels bad and she wasn't able to sort of fix her mom. And so she's always trying to be the person that needs to help and rescue other people from their problems instead of just dealing with and helping herself. Ouch. That's a harsh read. But it's also the opposite of what Amanda 2 has just come sort of to the realization. We've seen both versions. This Amanda, clearly that hits close to home because she tells Jason 2 to get the hell up out of there. It's a dick move. But we have also seen Amanda 2 sort of come on the other side of this where she's like, I'm done helping you. I'm going to help myself. And so while it was a bittersweet moment to see her break away from Jason Prime, it's something that needed to show her character grow to say, hey, in one of these worlds, this Amanda decided to stop helping others and just do what's best for her. But Jason, too, is a dick. When he gets back home, Detective Mason is on the stoop, kind of just waiting there, saying, I got a couple more follow-up questions. We don't have CCTV camera in the area, but we do know his phone last pinged in the industrial area. Would you happen to know any reason why he would be down there? He's like, no, I got nothing. Which is interesting because right at this moment, he is still holding on to Ryan's phone. So it's only a matter of time before that detective is able to sort of ping the location of where that phone is, or when it last got turned off or where it moved to. So the walls are sort of closing in. But Jason 2 denies. He's like, okay, cool. I don't have cameras there. If it did, and if anything comes up, you'll be the first to know. It's her way of sort of just laying in. She definitely feels he has something to do with it, but has nothing to sort of prove that completely. Jason clearly starts freaking out. The walls are closing in. He wants to leave anyway. He severed his ties with the one person that actually he could talk to because he just wanted to have a moment of control. So he's just kind of like SOL at this point. So his thought process is a little mixed up. He decides to go crack open that box. After really just cementing it closed, he decides to crack open that box because he has to get something on the other side of it. Cracks open the box, gets a sledgehammer, busts it open, and then he goes inside. Once inside, he goes to a world, let's call him Ryan 3, just for the purposes of numbers. Goes to a world where there's a Ryan 3, who's a bit of a disheveled Ryan. This Ryan has not done much with his life. He's more of a drunkard, where their Ryan, both Ryans, but Ryan Prime gave up alcohol because of an incident that happened in school. This one is on the opposite side of that world where he drank and drove a friend home and got busted. His life just went on a different path, so he didn't get to use some of those brains. His longer hair, just a kind of a mess of a person. Jason 2's like, perfect, you're the one. And so he gets him nice and sloshed up, nice and drunk, and then drags him back through the box to get to the prime world and brings him back through the cemented, where the cement has been broken open, brings him back to that world, shaves him, showers him, gets him all ready to look like the true Ryan Prime, puts him into his Ryan Prime's bed, and then puts the phone next to him. This man is dirty. He does all of that to just put just a random Ryan in place, and then he heads home like as if nothing's happened. But what he did do is he left that box unsealed, so now stuff can come through. So Jason Prime is in the box, and he starts writing down about the very first time that he met Daniela and how it just basically gave him butterflies, how it gave him the title of the episode. Basically said like he felt like worlds were colliding and the machinery that was inside of his chest was stopping working. Like he just felt like, I am whoever this person is, I need to spend as much possible time as I can with him. But he goes on to write more and more about how much he just undyingly loves and how he had a moment of weakness today where he thought he was going to take another Jason's life and just supplant himself into it. But he's like, I can't do that. That's not what I want. I want my Daniela. I want my Charlie. I want my world. I want everything that we had. I want that again. And with that thought, with that writing down, he injects himself. And guessed it, folks, that all works. Some of it probably because he lost the other consciousness, but because he's not writing about the descriptive places, he's now writing about the emotion that he wants. He makes it back home. And we know that because he gets to the place that's sort of cemented and rubbled off, and he's like, I've made it. That's how sort of also his clue, like, this might be the place, because I could see this Jason cementing this box off. There's a very great line that he says in it that I just loved. I was like, the imperfection of life amount to a different kind of perfection. I think that's what makes life perfect for people. It's the imperfections in it. Like, everything's not going to be 100% roses. And I think that's where Jason 2 is coming at it with a mistake. He's thinking of it scientifically, like everything has to be, I want everything to be perfect. I need everything to be in this row, where this Jason has come to the realization, like, that's just not possible. Because that's not possible, that's when it's at its best. And so he comes out of the box, realizes that he's in the right spot. First place he goes to, checks out the village tab, which we have sort of used as that's our beacon to sort of say, hey, are we at due north? Are we at our correct place? Goes there and he's recognized by the bartender. Bartender's like, cool, do you want a drink? He's like, nah, just wanted to give you a hug. He hugs him, dips out. He now realizes that he's in the correct place. He runs home and goes through the back door of his home and sees Charlie and Daniela. So Charlie's doing homework, but they're doing work at the table. And through the front door, where we sort of had paused, is Jason Chu is coming in through the front door. Jason Chu tells Daniela, like, sorry, I've been out. I just found Ryan. He's in a bad way. Sobered him up and he's back home. I called his girlfriend. She's on his way. Let me go call Detective Mason to sort of let her know that we found him. He's basically, again, trying to be in control and just being a complete a-hole about it. He has ripped another Ryan from their life, from their world, be damned of what it means, just for his benefit, put them in this place to kind of give him solace and give him a way out. And this Ryan will have no idea about science, will have no idea about this Daniela, will have no idea about the girlfriend that's about to come see him. None of that's going to make any sense to him. But this Jason, too, does not care. So then we see a cool sequence. And this is where this episode gets really heady. Jason Prime goes to a gun store to buy a handgun. And the clerk there runs him through what the handgun is, what it does. She gets a really good look at him. Gets to know him pretty well. She's like, cool. You have your fire permit. He does not have that. So he's like, well, what can I get without it? So she's like, well, can I get a knife and get some pepper spray? She sells him those things and sees him off. He goes off and then he goes left. No less than like 2 minutes later, if that, maybe 20 seconds later, another Jason comes in. But it's not Jason 2. Jason 2 was dressed differently and was just at home. He was done for the day. This Jason was dressed just like Jason Prime. So right now, in this world, it appears that we have two Jason Primes, a Jason Prime A and a Jason Prime B, if you will. And the second Jason that comes in there is the one that I think has been in the box because he has a band or a thing on his finger to sort of represent the ring that he lost. So who the hell was that other Jason? And so what now it appears is that we are in a world where all the back and forth and all the butterfly effects that sort of Jason 2 and Jason Prime have sort of done, they've created another lip where there's another Jason Prime that is trying to make its way back to Daniela. We remember the times where they were saying that there's a world where we didn't escape, or there's a world that we died. There might be a world where I just made it, or where there's so many variations of the world that occurred that they're going to start converging in and making their way out. When you play enough with these butterfly effects, now there appears to be one or two, maybe multiple Jason Primes. Now, that can benefit our Jason Prime in that there are going to be a lot of people trying to go to remove Jason 2 from the board, but it can be a detriment because that means there's going to be a lot more people trying to go after Daniela Prime in this world. So just created a whole nother sense of issues when we finally thought that our Jason got back home. He did. But boy, there's going to be quite a few Jasons to go through to get this job done. Well, great episode, fantastic episode, a very emotional episode. We got to sort of see a cathartic end to Amanda and sort of a read. We got to see both sides of that to Amanda. We got to see Jason 2 just fully invest in his being an a-hole. And Jason Prime kind of realized that, hey, I could settle for this. I could settle for this with you and Amanda and be happy and be content. I could try and take this Jason's world, but neither of those things really work for me and my overall happiness. I just want to get back to my Daniela. That's all it took for him to get back home. What did you guys think about this episode of Dark Matter? Go leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name that's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any other place podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.